Hi, everyone. This is Carla from the People's Union of South Asia. Of course, I'm not from South Asia. Gayatri is, and she is from India. Victor is from the United States, California, and I am from Washington, D.C. But anyone can come, and let me change my name. And we are live to talk to people around the world in English. We're going to be using English, but that's what it is. We want to hear about South Asia and what's going on there and how you're enjoying your day. And I am renaming myself to who I am. And Victor, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Let me introduce myself.
Victor, we can barely hear you. You need to fix your mic. Victor?
Yes.
Are you there? We can barely hear you. Please share this out on your timeline so people know that we're here. Gayatri, can you please talk because I can't hear him right now?
Yes. Hello, Victor. I really hope the audio gets sorted soon. Hello, Carla, and hi, Mayank. Mayank is also joining from India with me. And we are here in India, and it's monsoon season, and it's the month of Shravan or Savan, as we call it. This is considered as one of the holiest months in India. And during this month, a lot of festivals are there. And we are also looking forward to 15th of August, our Independence Day. The preparations are going on for that. Everyone is mostly into preparations for Independence Day. And it's raining on and off. That is what is happening. So that is from my end. What about you, Mayank? You want to share something?
How's my audio? How's my audio?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, good. Mayank?
Hey, hi, yes.
You were saying?
Yeah, I was saying so just to add that I live nearby to Gayatri. So we share a common environment in the sense that it's raining outside in my region too. And yeah, we are preparing for the Independence Day, a holiday. We will get a day break from office. At the same time, it's very, like you say, very auspicious for us. We do like to celebrate it because there are so many memories related to that. Because when we were in our school days, we used to have celebrations, various performances, and obviously the sweets. So many memories that one go into when these sort of festivals are around. So yes, this is it.
Is this also the time where you also celebrate Lord Ganesh? And how do you do it? I know in Mumbai they have these big celebrations with all the different gear.
Yeah, that happens after the month of Shravan. So there are these 4 months. It's called as Chaturmas. Chatur means 4 and Mas means months. So those 4 months are like stuffed with a lot of festivals. So more or less every week we have 2 special days to celebrate during those 4 months. So there are 10 days of Ganesh Utsav, and then there are 9 days of Navratri, wherein we celebrate the divine feminine. And then we have Dasara, then we have 5 days of Diwali, and then of course there is Christmas. So it's kind of in India, it's it's just kind of those 4 months. They're stuffed with a lot of activities for us.
Okay. I thought I know about Navaratri and I know about Diwali, but I thought they were in separate months. When does Navaratri start?
Karla, in India, in Hindu religion, we follow the lunar calendar and not the solar calendar. So
I'm aware of
so when it comes to lunar calendar, sometimes depending on, for example, in solar calendar, there is something called as a leap year. Likewise, there is a leap year in lunar calendar as well. But in lunar calendar, it is called as an Adhik Mas. Adhik meaning extra and Mas means month. So in lunar calendar, there is an extra month added every 4 years. Which is why sometimes Navratri, Dasara and Diwali can fall in the same month, but sometimes it can be in different months. This year, it happens to be in the same month. 26 September, Navratri begins. And after 9 days, 10th day would be Dasara in the first week of October. And last week of October, we have Diwali.
Okay, can you tell me a little or tell anyone who is watching a little about how what these festivals are about and what's happening during them?
Okay, so Mayank, you want to tell what happens during Navratri?
Yes, so basically it starts with I will tell you how it goes in my home. So on the first day, it starts with a plantation of small, you say a grass-like thing, which we is considered sacred, and it's like put it in our houses. And then there is a, you say, bowl type of thing, what we call it?
Mayank, stop for a moment. You are forgetting you are talking to people who know nothing about these holidays. This is very new to them. So what is Navaratri? What is the Ganesh holiday? Be a little more exacting. Don't talk like, oh, everyone knows what this is. People from South Asia, like from Korea or Vietnam, may know nothing about this. I know something because of my background, but not everyone does. So let's start with the Ganesh holiday and we'll move on to Victor, because he may know nothing about this. It's all new to him. So it's not very new to you, but it's very new to other people from other parts of the world. So what is Ganesh? Who is Ganesh? What is this all about?
Okay, so let me start with Ganeshotsav and then I will tell the background of Ganeshotsav and then Mayank will tell how it is celebrated.
Mayank was starting. Why can't he continue?
Because I don't know why, from where it started, what's the background. So I think Gayatri would be better able to share that.
The historical part of it, Mayank is not aware about the historical part of it.
And slow down your speech, please.
Yes. So Ganpati or Ganesh, he is one of the gods that we also call as Elephanta god, who has the face of elephant, and he is the deity for prosperity and knowledge. And he is worshipped in a very sacred form. However, when the British were ruling India, there was one particular time wherein they had banned all the gatherings, wherein people would come together and talk about a revolution to overthrow the British government. But there was one thing that they couldn't ban, and that was a religious celebration. During that time, there was a lot of discrimination also happening between the upper caste and the lower caste. To eradicate all those things and to unite people against the British rule, uniting the people of India against the British rule, one of the social reformers and a freedom fighter of India with the name Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Lokmanya.
Slowly, you are way too fast for someone who knows nothing. You want them not just to hear you talk, you want to make sense to them.
Okay, so I'll slow down a little more. So this particular festival was basically started to unite the people of India to overthrow the British government and to relieve India of its oppression. And Lokmanya Tilak, his name is Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Lokmanya was the prefix given to him by people. Lokmanya means someone who is a validated leader by the common people. He brought Ganesh on the roads. So the god who is supposed to be in the temple, he brought that god on the road. So the whole discrimination was ended because everybody can worship a god on the road. And because it was a religious activity, the British could not stop it. And that is how the gatherings began. And for 10 days, the freedom fighters or the social leaders, they used to invoke patriotism among the crowds. They would make the crowds aware about all the atrocities that the British government was committing against the Indians. It was more of an awareness campaign and less of a religious campaign, honestly. And it's a very recent thing. It's barely 100 years old tradition, a little over. Initially, this festival used to be celebrated inside the houses of people, but because of the whole British rule and all the revolution during that time, the god had to come out on the roads to just unite the people. So now the celebration has become a very different thing. So then it was all about awakening. Now it is all about enjoyment. And I think Mayank will be able to tell better how boys actually enjoy during the Ganesh Utsav festival.
So what we do is like first we collect sums from all the people.
The donations.
Donations, yes. So to establish to buy the
Whoa, stop. Why donations? What is that all about? Why are you donating?
Exactly. So with that money, we buy the idol of Ganesha to establish it in one of the auspicious places, so that we can for the next 10 days we can do all the prayers and all the sacred you can say enchantments, wherein every people or all the people in around that locality gathers and celebrate it together. So that's how we do celebrate it. And at the last day, again, there is a massive for getting
Procession.
it immersed. Yeah, for getting that idol immersed in a holy water, we go on a you can say a road trip where people usually walk down the lanes and for a longer distance to reach the destination where that idol has to be immersed. And again, there is a celebration of the sort of Holi, because people are like they are using all the colors and all. People usually dance all the way throughout the journey. So it's sort of a celebration where everyone is excited even at the end of the celebration to keep that memory long lasting.
And one of the explanations for the donation part, Carla, because this was supposed to be a community event, the community should feel that it is their event, and hence every member of the community has to contribute. It can be 11 rupees, it can be 11,000 rupees. But the very fact that every person on that street, every person in that city, every person in that locality has contributed something for this festival, that makes this festival theirs, that makes that procession theirs, that gives them kind of an entry into that particular communal feeling.
Okay. So you're saying rupees. What do you mean by rupees? There's people who may not understand that at all. Victor, join us.
I'm listening.
You may have questions to ask that I'm not even thinking about.
That's true, but right now I'm listening in order to evoke questions. I don't even know what questions to ask. I'm in learning mode.
Okay.
So rupees is basically Indian currency. The way you have US dollars, we have Indian rupees.
Oh, I know rupees.
you're talking- But you're talking like 1,000 rupees. That sounds like a lot of money, and it really is not.
$1 is equal to 80 rupees at the moment, Carla. So it's not much. It's not
But
much
see-
at the moment.
There may be someone watching who may not know that at all.
Agreed.
Catherine, please put on your camera so we can see you. Unless you cannot, let me know.
She's a friend of mine. I know her very well.
Hello,
Okay.
Kathleen. If you're a friend of Victor's, you're a friend of mine too.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Hi, thank you for the welcome. And yeah, anything Victor sends little breadcrumbs to, I'm gobbling up. So hello.
Hello.
Hi. Introduce yourself, Catherine.
I've been in Toastmasters for about 5 years, and I'm learning how to form my message and carry it into the world at large so that I can be happy helping the world to be happy. And it has to do with a relationship with the larger world, the unseen world, the completeness of our beings. And people often, for short, they call it the spiritual aspect of our being.
Catherine, let's
Yeah.
get into the conversation about India. Do you know anything about India and this month of celebration?
Oh, no, of course, that. Do I know anything about India is a little bit of a general question, but tell me more about the month of this month of
What-
celebration.
Have you been watching? You're
Yes.
new here, so I'm asking you generally. Have you been watching and have you heard? Can you put your camera on so we can see you?
Okay, let's see. I don't use my phone a lot. Okay, here we go. Hi,
Now we can see you. Hi.
we'll get my glasses
You
so
don't
I
need your
can see
glasses.
you. What'd you say?
You don't need your glasses. You just need to talk.
Well, now I can see you.
Okay. Welcome.
But you know, the thing is that I am preparing for a speech now. So I wanted to listen in for a brief while. But I do have to get to my work this morning. I have a speech to deliver and I have to work on it.
Okay, and what kind of work do you do?
I read hands and I facilitate the communication with dreams. And the two together are a fast way to greater greater consciousness and self-realization.
And that's how this blends into what we're doing here. So I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm using ums and I don't usually use them as much. Gayatri, you were talking about how $1 equals 80 rupees.
Yes.
The reason I had you say that, because when people here know nothing about India and how much rupees may equal, it's hard for people to make that transition and understand that the difference in money is so great.
It is incredible. In 1947, when we got our independence, 15th August 1947, $1, $1 was equal to 1 Indian rupee. Then it became $1 equal to 11 Indian rupees. Gradually, it was $1 to 35 Indian rupees. Until the month of January, it was $1 is equal to 75 Indian rupees, which is how we used to pay the Toastmasters membership fees. But now it is in past two, 3 months, it's like 77, 78. And now finally it has crossed 80 rupees for $1. So it's kind of proving to be a little difficult for Indians to cope up with all the international market and to buy the stuff or even pay the membership dues. The whole equation has changed. The economics have changed. So we are kind of revisiting our budget.
So it's a totally different way of looking at things and understanding the whole idea of money. And Uruj Niyati, can you turn on your camera and introduce yourself? And Victor, I haven't even had you say hi.
Don't worry, we're moving along just fine.
Okay. Uruj, can you turn on your camera, or is this something that you wouldn't do? Kathleen, it would be really nice if you could keep your camera on, but if you can't.
Yes, I understand. It would be nice, but I already explained.
Okay, Catherine, it's okay. Aruj, are you there? Can you please introduce yourself?
He's writing that he can't today. He'll do it in the next session.
I don't even, if he's a man, he has to have his camera on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't know if he is a she or a man, and if he's here, he should be introducing himself. Or he can come back next time. I don't even know where he is from. Could you please respond, Aruj? If you're not going to, there's no reason for you to be here. Okay, so Gayatri, what were you saying about rupees and money and the whole thing?
So the value of dollar in rupees, it keeps on changing. A lot depends on the international trading. So anything happens in USA market, it kind of has a ripple effect in India. Over a period of past 5 years, that ripple effect has decreased considerably. But nevertheless, the exchange rate is going up rapidly. And I'm saying it rapidly because so much difference, like 75 to 80 rupees for a dollar within a span of 3 months, it's too much. So it's that kind of thing. So whatever happens on the world stage, somewhere it kind of affects the South Asian countries as well. Over here, there is a lot of awareness that has been going around in the South Asian countries, wherein people are writing articles, people are sharing memes about this particular thing, that every time there is something wrong in Europe, Europe makes it sound like everything is wrong with the world. It is high time that Europe stop making European wars the world wars. Because
But
technically,
it's not, wait a minute, it's not just Europe, it's around the world. And people do not understand that there's a big difference in how Indians don't understand that there's a big difference between the different countries. I hate to, let me finish. I don't want to say you're a third world country, but you are. And in the third world, there is less money available. Money is energy. Remember that.
that is so not true. Because that is so not true. Because when the First World War was fought, 1914 to 1918, Britain was funded majorly by India because India was their cash cow.
1940 was the Second World War.
1914.
Oh, okay,
1914
1914. we
to
call it.
1918, the 4 years of war. That was the time when Mahatma Gandhi had returned India from Africa, South Africa. So India was the cash cow for the British. During the Second World War, the Indian independence movement had reached its peak. So the British could not manage it anymore. But that was the time when Winston Churchill, the then Prime Minister of the Great Britain, decided to fill the stores for the English soldiers while the common peasants, the common people in the West Bengal region, in the Bengal province of India, died of hunger because there was famine. Technically, famine was not in India. India was self-sufficient because we have very fertile land. We were always self-sufficient. The problem was that we could not provide for the greed of Europe. So we were never the third world country. We were self-sufficient. Europeans decided that they are going to fight amongst themselves, and they think that world revolves around them. So it was a European war, the World War I. It was between Germany, it was between France, it was with United Kingdom. On and off, Russia would enter in, on and off, Turkey would enter in. Sometimes Italy and Spain would join in. There was no one else. And only when everything was wrong, that is when the British would look at American continent, because America was their colony. Canada still is their colony. So the North American continent contributed to the European war only for the financial benefits, which is how the Treaty of Versailles happened, which was a humiliation, which was retaliated for during the Second World War. So we were never the third world country. We were always a self-sufficient country, which was just exploited for the greed of European countries. And today, whatever is happening in India, we have surplus grain. There are people dying in a few countries, which are African countries, Asian countries, but World Trade Organization decides that this is the subsidy you can give. So it is okay that people are dying, but Indian government that is buying stuff from their own farmers is not allowed to help a country in need for grains. So the first world countries that you call America, Europe, they are okay with the people in so-called third world countries dying, but they will not let a country like India provide.
You're doing the same thing that they are doing to you.
No, we are ready to provide.
No, listen to what I'm saying. You're doing the same thing.
Like what?
Yeah, listen, you're thinking what, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. I can't talk if you're thinking what. You're missing the point. Everyone's saying that person is different than that person. That country is different from that country. We're not talking about differences here. There are differences, but all the differences have something that are similar. And that's why this show was created, to show the differences, not to say Europe thinks this or the United States thinks that or what. I really don't care. I want people to begin to see that things are very similar. We all want love. We all want peace. But if we're thinking that, oh, Europe decided this and we're not going to get along because of what Europe is saying, then there's no need to even attempt to bring people together, because you're adding separation. You're not adding the similarities. Isn't it true that in India you want to be loved, you want a family, you eat food,
So
you're interrupting me. I can't talk.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you.
No, I'm done talking to you for now. Because you're busy interrupting. You're not busy listening. Do you wanna talk, please, Victor?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk. I love talking.
I know.
And I was just thinking, was about to comment about how well read Gayatri was in the history that she was sharing with us. And I was noticing that the average American probably couldn't give a comparable dissertation about their history like she just did. And I commend her on being able to do that. If someone was to ask me about the particulars of my history, well, I might know a little something, but I can only surmise that what Gayatri knows, she went further than what they did in school. I can't imagine in school getting into that depth. So obviously, in my view, Gayatri must like history. She must like reading that so that she could bring us up to speed on how things were. And I don't for a moment believe that she was highlighting differences. I just think she was commenting on history, nothing more, nothing less. But I'm sure, but I saw Mrs. Peel, that's what I call Kathleen. She had something that she wanted to say. Perhaps we could take a listen and see what's on her mind.
And hi, what would you like to say? Gayatri, I appreciate the knowledge, the history, but I want to bring the similarities here as well as the differences, if that makes sense. And I'm sorry if I was rude. I didn't mean to be. You are muted, so we can't hear you.
I was invited to comment, and I'm going to comment, and then I'll get back to my work, and perhaps Victor will invite me again later so that I can visit again. But I did want to say that I noticed a disparity in opportunity to listen and to speak. And so, Carla, I would invite you to really listen and speak really listen.
You're right.
What I noticed is that Gayatri spent a good amount of time, a sufficient amount of time to how do you say, to fully express her version of the which is a very how would you say this, very well established, completely established by the understood and agreed upon by the experts who know all of this stuff, version of the ups and downs, the vicissitudes, and the gain and loss of economic power in the world. And so I just really invite you, Carla, to really listen on a, if you want, you're requesting equal time or equal listening or something like that. And so I think you could listen yourself to your own, you know what they say, what goes out your mouth comes back to your ears.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I was wrong, I guess, Gayatri, when we started this show, it wasn't to go into history as much as to bring people together speaking.
Well, you know, the thing was,
And
okay,
go on.
I have to go now, and I hope to see you again next time.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Bye now. Thank you.
Gayatri, when we started this show, it was to bring, not to get deeply into the history, but it was more or less to get deeply into who people are and what they're about.
Yes.
And I did not mean not to listen. As
It's
you can
okay.
tell, there's a lot going on that I am orchestrating at one time.
Don't worry about it, Carla. Don't worry about it. The only reason why I said so many things was that we always hear that we are the third world country, but we know factually that we were not. So the only
Right.
that we feel that we are not the third world, we were our own world. And Europe likes to take the center stage. That is all I wanted to establish, that we are not
But-
third world.
But that was the point I said in the beginning. People call it the third world, but it isn't.
It
It's
isn't.
It is a different world because you live in a different way. I mean, you come here and you see all these materialistic ways of living life. And when you go to India, you see a totally different thing. You see people more spiritual, more going within more, instead of looking outside and wondering, how can I be better than the people next door? And in India, it's more, oh, that growth within, that development within, because you have the meditation, you have the yoga, and that changes everything completely from being very materialistic to being more into who you are. I mean, walking in the streets of India are much different than walking down a street in the US. It's a cultural shock. And I've been in India twice. I know what I'm talking about. Do I consider India a third world country? No, not really. But it's a different way of life. Does that make sense, what I just said?
It most definitely does, Carla. I was in Rishikesh for the Alliance Yoga training, and with me, we were about a batch of 7 people. One person from the west coast of USA, from Seattle, another lady who was from the eastern coast, which was Rhode Island. One person was from Belgium. There was this another girl from England. There was a Polish girl who stayed in London, and then there was this one boy who was from Netherlands. When we used to walk the streets of Rishikesh together, one thing that amazed most people was to see cows and buffaloes on the road walking. At one point, a cow would decide to sit in the middle of the road, and people would walk from the side. The cars would adjust their driving lane. But in India, if a person comes in the middle of the road while you are driving, you will listen to some really beautiful words out of the mouths of the people. So this person said to me that, Gayatri, Indians are crazy. I said, yeah, you're right. Indians are crazy. But which aspect are you talking about? Because we are crazy in several aspects. So he said, so it's okay for you guys to to let the animals roam around on the roads. But if a human being is roaming, then you will just kind of curse that person. And I had to explain him that India was basically land of farmers. So animals have more rights on the roads, and cow is worshipped in India.
Yeah.
So he also had another observation. He said that looking at the Indian cow compared to the cows in USA, you feel very calm when you look at an Indian cow, which is an indigenous cow. And when that happened, I had to explain to him that in USA, what you call a cow is basically a Jersey. And in India, when we say a cow, it's a very different breed. So even the DNA is different. However, the moment we left the Rishikesh and we arrived in New Delhi, the capital of India, and we were in our car, and he was like, what is this? I said, this is also India. And he said, now this looks like a regular road of America because it's properly designed, the roads are amazing, there are signs everywhere, and there are no animals here. That's when I had to explain that we Indians have diversity. So we have two Indias. A lot of political leaders in India, they like to mention this, that there are two Indias, urban India and the rural India. India, which lives in the cities and they are into corporate jobs, working out of glass buildings. And there is another India, which is still living that old lifestyle, living in the mud houses. They have money, they have more money than we do, but it is the life they have chosen.
And you know what's really interesting, because you brought back two memories for me when I was in India. The first time I was in a bus, well, it was a private bus, and I was riding with a friend to go to Bangalore. And there were about 10 to 15 cows who we saw. It began, they were on the pasture, they came to the road, they made their turn, and somehow they knew where they were going. I didn't know where they were going. They made a turn to go to another pasture. And they're walking single file, so they didn't get hurt. They don't get hurt, but they're walking through on the streets going back. Yeah, we were returning to the ashram. And it was absolutely something I never expected to see. And then when I went back to India again in 2007, and I was taking a tour of not Rishikesh. I know where I'm talking about. We went to Jaipur, Rajasthan. And as we were leaving, unbelievably, when we were leaving Delhi, they had a medium strip, and I have a picture of this cow, or it could have been a bull, and he was literally in the middle of the road, safe where he was, laying down and watching everything going by. It was the most amazing thing I ever saw. And no one seemed to care that the cow was, that this animal was there waiting to be seen. And, you know, it was so fascinating. Would I see that in the United States? Very unlikely. Anything can be seen, but it's not likely to be seen. We just had Heidi, I can't pronounce your name.
Hidayatullah Shilzai. Hidayatullah Shilzai.
Can you put on your camera and say hi?
I think his audio is connecting. He can't listen to us yet.
Because I can't see him at all. He may have technical issues. But it was fascinating to me. It was fascinating when we were in Jaipur and there were just people all over the roads on bikes and everything. Again, something you wouldn't see in the United States, but it doesn't mean that you are, quote, third world or whatever. You're just who you are. And it's perfectly fine. The prices are reasonable. You know, I remember, I mean, I bought things in India that I would have never been able to buy here. And it doesn't mean that it was cheap. They were good things.
They were good things. The one thing that India was always popular was for silk material. Silk material in the sense, if you have a 6-yard long silk cloth, 6-yard long, so you can imagine the size of it, it could be folded and fit into a matchbox, a small matchbox. That fine quality was of silk. It was
right.
Used to be that, and it was all hand loom. In fact, one of the fashion statements made by India, made from India, was made by she was Lord Curzon's wife. She was an American. She was one of those dollar princesses who were wed to the title holders in United Kingdom. So she was married to Lord Curzon because he was the Viceroy of India, and she would become the Vicereine of India. She was here, and an entire dress was woven for her out of peacock feathers. Only peacock feathers, and it was woven on the silk for her. So her dress was the second most talked about dress during that time after the Queen's dress.
And that's amazing. And that can be done in India. And it's reasonably priced. I got a ring with a star ruby. And the only way, I could never have afforded it in this country. But it was reasonably priced. Because you guys aren't into, oh, I'll make something like a balloon $20 when it's worth only a few dollars. There's some fairness there and some understanding, hey, you know, maybe it really shouldn't be that high. Victor, your mouth has been closed, which is unusual.
It's not that unusual in my life because the last several years I'm aspiring to listening more. And one of the main reasons I talk as much as I do is that most people are not interesting. However, this morning, everyone has been interesting, and I've enjoyed listening. I was in my mind trying to draw a relationship between the rupee and the dollar. And so I thought of this one thing that they sell in India that they also sell in the United States. And if you could tell me, Gayatri, what this thing costs in rupees, I can kind of figure out how powerful the rupee is now. A Big Mac is sold in America and a Big Mac is sold in India. Now in America, a Big Mac is about $5. How many rupees did you pay for a Big Mac in India? Because if a rupee is if a dollar is 80 rupees, then a Big Mac should cost you 400 rupees, does it?
So according to a recent survey, Big Mac is cheapest in India, okay, and it is costliest in Norway. So if you're paying say $5 in USA for a Big Mac, then we are paying roughly 130 or 150 rupees, which comes close to $2, not more than $2.
Oh, really?
Under $2, a little under $2. So Big Mac costs not more than 150, 160.
Then a rupee is pretty powerful.
Okay, but you need to understand when it comes to McDonald's as a brand, McDonald's in rest of the world is different from compared to McDonald's in India. In 1995, when the economy was opened in India, when we became an open economy, McDonald's arrived in India and it was like all good and fine. But then soon they realized that in India, 70% people are vegetarian for 4 months. For 4 months, 70% of Indians are vegetarian by choice because of the religious beliefs.
Right.
And they had to survive somehow. So there are certain vegetarian Macs, that is the Mac burgers we have in India, which are not available anywhere in the world. For example, we have Makalu Tikki, which is basically a potato cutlet inside, a potato patty inside the burger.
At McDonald's.
At McDonald's. We have Mexican Makalu Tikki. What is Mexican? They just add a Mexican sauce with a few jalapenos, along with tomatoes and onions. We have American Cheesy Surprise, which is still a vegetarian patty with just lots of cheese in it. And we have McVeggie Burger, which is basically the patty is made out of green peas, potatoes, and a couple of other veggies. We have Pizza McPuff, which is basically a vegetarian version of Pizza McPuff. I don't think you get it anywhere else in the world. So McDonald's India has its own different menu for Indians. And McDonald's is one of the most, it has a lot of franchises. You find McDonald's in every nook and corner of a few cities in India. So there you go. So McDonald's in India is different from McDonald's in rest of the world. Even our McDonald's mascot looks a little different.
You know, you've been gifted with a certain kind of voice, a certain way of speaking. Here you are talking about McDonald's and the type of offerings they have, but you still sound like a news commentator. You sound professional. You sound like you are that. It's the voice of authority. Now, not everyone is fortunate enough to have that. And I guess that could be a blessing or that could be a curse. But when you're speaking, you have an unusual quality of making people want to listen to you speaking. And I'd like to have that. So I will probably spend more time around you so I can develop that. Now from the time I was a child, I always read a lot, excuse me. And from time to time in my adult life, my friends would tell me that I speak like I'm talking from a book. Excuse me. They're not trying to be flattering when they tell me that. But I am being flattering when I tell you, you have the voice of authority, and the way you articulate the English language is quite appealing. And I want to congratulate you, and I acknowledge you for that. I don't know whether you had to practice for that or whether you went to some course or what have you, but you got it now.
I think God has been kind, and I have been blessed with people like Carla, people like you who constantly tell me where I need to improve. Like Carla constantly reminds me that I need to speak slow to make sure that my point is put across or my words are understood. That has really helped me a lot. It definitely has.
Mrs. Peel, that's what I call Kathleen. She mentioned my favorite word in the entire world today. And I don't know if you guys caught it, but this is my favorite word, maybe because it starts with a V, but the word vicissitudes. That's such a great word. And simply it means the ups and downs of whatever, but the vicissitudes of life. Don't you like the sound of that word, Carla? Vicissitudes?
Yeah.
Vicissitudes. What does that mean? Vicissitudes.
Ups and downs.
Oh.
Ups and downs. That's nothing more, nothing less. The things that go on, the things that happen, like the vicissitudes of a Southeast Asia broadcast is that people speak on diverse subjects. The vicissitudes of life is that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. The vicissitudes of a college attendance is you meet people from all over the country, all over the world, and some of them like being there and some of them don't. So vicissitudes is a very, very good word. And when you hear someone use the word vicissitudes, you're probably listening to a well-read, well-spoken person.
Let's start using that word, Carla.
We'll see. I'll probably forget to use it.
And if you hear someone for whom English is not their first language and they use the word vicissitudes, you better know you are talking to someone that has intelligence in spades. So feel free. Oh, intelligence in spades. That's an idiomatic expression. Do you know what that means, Gayatri?
I think you should explain it.
In America, there's playing cards. You know playing cards? They have hearts, clubs, diamonds. Okay.
Yes.
There's a game that's called spades, and when you're playing cards, the spade is worth more than the other three suits. So that when you're playing cards, the winner of the book, if everybody has a numerical hearts, diamonds, or clubs that's higher than the other, and the last person plays a spade, the spade beats everything.
We have a similar game in India also.
So when somebody does something in spades, they're real good at it. Tell me about the thing that you have that's similar.
It's the same. It's a similar thing. The only thing is we get to choose what is going to be the spade in each game. I can choose diamond for one game to do the exact thing that spade does for you. I can choose a heart for one game. So every game can have a different thing to do the same thing that spades does for you. So sometimes we have spades doing that thing, sometimes hearts, sometimes diamonds, and sometimes. So
what you are saying is that you have different suits that are the trump suits. Trump is a word. Yes. Trump is isn't that amazing? They name him Trump, and Trump means what it does. So
the trump suit. So we can choose the trump suit to be any of the four things. What is the fourth one called? Diamond, spade, heart, and
clubs.
Clubs.
Some people call clubs. You ready for this? Puppy toes.
I've never heard that.
I have never heard that.
Google
I
it, you'll see puppy toes.
Yeah, clubs. It just slipped out of my mind that it was clubs, but clubs I knew. Puppy toes is
But doesn't it look like a puppy footprint? Puppy toes.
it looks more like a leaf to me, like some
Hmm.
I don't know. It's like
Google the word puppy toes and see what you get. Oh my goodness, it's after 8 o'clock, Carla. My time is done.
I know. I was just letting you talk. And you do so well at it. Actually, we may need a few more seconds to make it. Oh, we are up to the hour. But the point is, Gayatri, I did not mean to cut you off.
don't worry about it,
Even
Carla.
yourself.
Absolutely don't worry about it. That's the beauty of debates. Don't worry about it. Don't even give it a second thought.
These shows are not supposed to be debates. That's the point.
Okay. I understand, but sometimes when there is a difference of opinion, I think it's good to have difference of opinion.
Well,
It's
you don't know.
I
You
agree.
don't know it's different until you say it. You don't know it's different until it happens. It's not a debate until it is.
And I just need to be careful about it because when Rayhan and I decided to start the meetups, it was to bring people together and not to separate them. So we don't talk about politics, we don't do religion, or if we do religion, it is teaching someone about it, but not saying, oh, your religion has this and it doesn't."
Definitely
Yeah.
not into that. Not into that. I like the religious studies and I like to study different religions and their teachings. So it's all into the inclusiveness.
Right. It's in order to bring people together and not to separate them.
Not to separate. In India, we have more than 27,000 dialects for over 150 languages. So over here in India, the propaganda began with unity and diversity. So
And that's what this is about. It's
unity and diversity. So
unity into the diversity. So I felt like I want to learn this, but I also need to go by what we had decided the meetups were supposed to be.
I agree. I agree.
And I need to go.
Well, we all need to go because I have the English show in less than an hour. And I will take people for the English show today if you have a child who is 20 years old or younger. So for now, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Planet Union, and we'll be back with People's Union of South Asia in a month. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining me. I hope we can do it in 2 weeks. Are you available, Victor?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know if when you have deacon duty and when you don't. So I need to respect that too. In any case, we're going to wave goodbye and go off air. Bye, everyone. Hold on.